Thank you, dear colleague. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Courtney. Ministers, welcome to New York. These distinguished colleagues. As we all know, the social and economic damage resulting of the COVID-19 is mounting across all countries, tracking the sharp rise in new infections and containment measures put in place by governments. Here, I recall that we agreed since the adoption of the 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development in 2015 that this agenda is a genuine long-term test of our ability to collective solidarity and our desire to reach the year 2030 without anyone left behind. However, today we are facing a short-term test of our ability and our collective global will to leave no one behind, and this goal does not turn into mere words that we cannot apply in reality. Having said that, it is essential today to recognize the need of all countries of the world to provide basic infrastructure and equipment for the health sectors in order to provide prevention, health tests, treatment, food, and basic services for all without exception, as well as enabling the economies of all countries to support and finance the necessary national plans, procedures, and strategies to ensure the containment and prevention of the spread of COVID-19. I'm speaking to you today as a permanent representative of a country that suffers from special conditions related to the negative economic and social effects of a war that lasted for more than 9 years and was accompanied by an economic blockade and unilateral economic coercive measures imposed on the Syrian people by some governments. Needless to say that these unilateral coercive measures directly affect the ability of the main economic sectors in Syria to perform their tasks collectively and effectively, especially in the fields of health, energy, banking, industry, transportation, communication, internal and external trade, adjust the local currency rate, and combating high prices of all basic materials and services. These illegal measures impede the ability of affected countries to contain the virus and undermine the basic principle that the Secretary General of the United Nations calls for solidarity and collective cooperation in facing this threat. Just as a reminder, the world's population affected by unilateral coercive economic measures exceeds 2 billion. On our part, as countries affected by these unilateral measures, we sent nationally and collectively many letters and appeals to the Secretary General and explained legally and humanitarily the impact of these illegal sanctions on our capabilities as governments, citizens, and economic and social sectors to confront this health pandemic. We ask the United Nations and the international community helping us to lift this type of economic blockade, but unfortunately our efforts and the calls of the United Nations have not received any serious or real response by the governments that impose this type of measures. And allow me to underscore here my deep disappointment that none of the panelists has touched upon this very important issue at the beginning of our meeting.
So Bashar, please, could you wrap up now, because we have 25 speakers and we have 5 minutes. So
okay, dear.
Could you just ask your question? What is the question, please?
Okay. I conclude with the quote from the UN report issued on March 31st, 2020, and entitled Shared Responsibility, Global Solidarity Responding to the Socio-Economic Impacts of COVID-19. And I quote, "Sanctions imposed on countries should be waived to ensure access to food, essential supplies, and access to COVID-19 tests and medical support. This is the time for solidarity, not exclusion." End of quote. We are now looking more than ever before at the role of the United Nations Sustainable Development Group, as well as at the role of member states, especially after what the Secretary General briefed on the 27th of March in his briefing to member states on the organization response to COVID-19.
So
I thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much.